All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name's John. I'm the CTO of Ninja Software and co-founder. I was Ella's judge last year. I was a hard as nails judge, but for good reason. I care about software, and I guess I'm here to talk to you about it today. So I guess I want to talk about motivation for the IQ project. So for me, curiosity is something I want to talk about more, to be able to just summon from within you the intrinsic motivation to build software. But first, about me and a full screen presentation. So I'm actually an engineer in the past life. I've been programming for 15 years now. As to my origin story of how I got into programming, I'll explain that later. It'll all make sense in a few minutes. I only have 5 minutes to do this talk, so it'll be pretty quick. So why would you be programming in the first place? Well, for the first time that I'm aware of, you can actually scale your efforts across the globe. Multiple languages, multiple countries. You can deploy an app online, and someone in the US, someone in the UK, someone in China, if you can get past the firewall, will be able to use your app. And ultimately, you prove that you can do what you say you can do because your work is out there on the internet. It's actually quite hard to find a profession today that lets you do that kind of stuff. As an engineer in a past life, there's a lot of gatekeeping, and you need your degree to get into the workplace. For software, it's different. You just need to have a PC, and you need to have the internet, which is pretty common these days. But self-doubt is something that people come up with a lot. What happens if I can't do this? It's hard, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's on yourself and Google to help you. And another thing I see a lot is people have imposter syndrome where they feel like they can't do it or they don't know how to do it well. But that's a good thing. Ultimately, as long as you try your best and you iterate on yourself, you'll come out okay. It's just a matter of time. I said here, like music, just practice every day and you'll get there. I'm still not very good at music. I've already mentioned Google was your friend. It wasn't around when I was getting into programming. I had to read a lot of books. It wasn't quite as exciting. There was no YouTube either. There was no broadband. So if anything, these days it's not too bad. And I guess always ask how. Just be curious about things. How am I showing this presentation? How does this laptop actually work? What is an HDMI cable? What is going on here? And just have that kind of curiosity in everything you do. And it kind of builds that kind of hacker mentality that will actually drive you to build things in the future. Oh, ultimately, yeah. How do you change text on Twitter to troll your friends? That's the most important one. Well, let me ask my mate Elon Musk. He says I'm a great guy, which he didn't, by the way. I just edited the HTML to say that. And another thing to say is that as often as you see those speeches about this journey, not the destination, it's actually the destination, not the journey for software. You need to keep your eyes on what you want to build. So Alex, the CEO of Ninja Software, who's here with me today, he got into software for gaming purposes, building mods for games back in the day. Personally, I got into programming because I wanted to make a lot of money making trading bots for Bitcoin. It's not as exciting. I lost a lot of money, by the way. But at least I learned to code. There was a project, there was a target, there was a goal. And the coding was kind of like a tool that helped me get to that point. So ultimately, I like to say, just build stuff. Don't just consume stuff. So it could be anything, not just software. Write poetry, make movies, write software, create, and ultimately, you'll get there in the end. And that's talk number 1. Thank you. So I think today there's a lot of workshops going on about the MVP process. You'll be talking amongst your groups about what it is, how you're going to pitch at the end of this project anyway. For us at Ninja Software, an MVP is the bare minimum you need to get into the market. It's just enough to test the market, to collect your users, and then drive funding for the next stage. So because of this lean, nascent stage of an app, it's constant iteration. So you have to keep building and pivoting. You've probably heard that term a few times. When things just don't work. And believe me, things don't work very often. And this last point here is quite interesting, is to to ask people what they really think. A lot of people are just being kind of polite. And they're like, oh yeah, it's a pretty cool app. It's Uber for dogs. I'd use it to walk my dog. But they won't actually pay for it. So you need to kind of pull that information out of them. And a lot of that is actually asking yourself, asking your friends, family, and strangers on the street, would you pay for this? And you'll be surprised that usually the answer is no. Some things to think about is that when you have your group activity later, it's good to combine the collateral. So what happens is, as you work on your pitch decks, as you work on your product descriptions, they all kind of inform each other. So there's a lot of work to be done in terms of product development and idea development. So coding isn't everything. There's more to it than just business, than coding. There's also the business side of it. And that's the kind of questions that you find as well on pitch day. People like myself will ask quite tough questions on revenue streams, business models, and it's something that is the all-encompassing problems of every startup. So I guess pitches on pitch day, you'll be having a video, some slides. Some things I'd love to see is just some prototypes, Figma, XD, where you create wireframes and kind of bring your app to life. It doesn't have to work, it just has to look like it works. All right, so this is I was asked to do a time lapse for everyone. I didn't have the time to do the time lapse. So my challenge is to build a 5-minute MVP right now. I thought it would save me time, but it's a lot of pressure. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to create an app where you can click on a button and look at a Pokemon. Are you ready? Yeah. I'm not. Okay, here we go. So here's what I prepared earlier. A simple, it's not in Swift today, I'm sorry, but it's quick and dirty. This is a time lapse, just pretend it's a time lapse, okay? So what happens is that I'm creating an app which has no buttons right now. This is a simple scaffolded React app. So what's the first step? All right, you need a button. Actually, you need a heading. Pokemon getter. There we go. Okay, done. No buttons available. All right, let's add a button. No text in the button. Let's call it get. There you go. MVP almost finished. Next step is to add a click handler. All right. This is very stressful, by the way. Coding while everyone's watching, but it's fine. So now if you click on this button, it runs whatever's in here. All right, getting there. So there's two things you have to think about when building an MVP, well, an app actually. The user does something and it stores something. So in this case, I want to store, let me think, the link for the Pokemon thumbnail and the name of the Pokemon. So here's a great link I prepared earlier. What we need to do is fetch. Yeah. I'll type very loud, by the way. All right. So we have response, and then we have the body. Goods. All right. Response.json. Cool. So now, in theory, it works. I haven't tested it yet. And the next step is to create two things: a link state. And next, a state for the name of the Pokemon itself. So. All right, we're almost there, believe it or not. We need two pieces above my amazing MVP, one of which is the image, and the second is the name of the Pokemon. Now, to do that, we template in the link into the image tag, and then finally, in the header, chuck in the name. It doesn't work, by the way. You hit get, nothing happens. That's easily fixed. All you have to do is, after you receive your body, you need to set the link of the request body thumbnail. Right. Then, oh, there we go, getting somewhere. And finally, set the name. Once you set name, I think, if I remember correctly, it's name and then English. Five-minute MVP, everyone. Thank you. It's pretty simple, but I didn't have much time. Thanks, everyone. It's really hard programming when everyone's watching. So there'll be discussion time next. It's a 20-minute thing where you discuss and finalize your vision and your plan. But some things I want you to think about is I have something called the MVP cookbook. I will always think about these 7 things every time someone pitches to me. Why are you building it? What are you trying to solve? How are you going to solve it? All this kind of stuff. The biggest one is the problem. Often we have a lot of people come in through Ninja Software and they have built a solution. But to what? I don't know. They can't actually tell me. So as long as you focus on that, it'll be the thing that I hone in on the day. So good luck. Thank you, everyone.